My name is Greg Christopher. I am the retired sheriff from Haywood County. I was the sheriff from 2013 to 2022.
Mike Street. I work for Haywood County EMS, but my volunteer job is I'm the director for the search and rescue team for the county.
Greg Shuping, Emergency Services Director of Haywood County, retired. Retired after 30 years, 20 of that as Director of Emergency Services, which included emergency management, EMS, and other things.
So let's start off, and don't worry about looking at the cameras either. You guys just look at me or each other. Let's start off with Sheriff. You get a call, you get a 911, something happens, and the process of what happens. I'm assuming that the sheriff is going to be the first sync of if something happens, besides the Park Service. Maybe they get a call. And just keep in mind as you're explaining this, and as you guys talk together, an audience will be watching this, trying to clarify, oh, this is how this all goes down.
The sequence of events.
The sequence of events of what happens, not specifically David's call, but a call in general.
Okay.
And
Sheriff, we'll have you kick that off.
Okay. So here in Haywood County, we have the Emergency Operations Center, our 911 center, that is located within the sheriff's office. So that's part of the sheriff's responsibility. And normally when people do not return to their vehicle, or people do not make a phone call to tell somebody that they are back out of the woods safely, then the family gets concerned, and of course the first thing they do is call 911 to report that that their loved one or their someone that they are close to is missing. And that starts a phone call from the EOC to the sheriff's office to our own duty sergeant, who will then, after some legwork and some investigation, just initially, then that's when the sheriff will get the phone call if they don't come out of the woods relatively quickly. And then I will pick up the phone and call the guys like Greg Shuping.
Okay.
And I'll explain what we have and go from there.
So Greg, you get a phone call. You get a phone call from the sheriff.
Well, yeah, there's a sequence of events that occurs pretty much every time, and it also has to do with the jurisdiction of where we're going. And we in Haywood County, we have a lot of federal lands, and those federal lands are divided into jurisdictions as well, from the Blue Ridge Parkway to the Great Smoky Mountains National Park and the United States Forest Service. So if the person is likely lost on Forest Service land, that requires a little unique response as opposed to the Great Smokies, and the Smokies being from the Department of the Interior, a signatory of their own search and rescue plan. And so a lot of times, if it's a national park, they just forward the call, to the Great Smokies, and we become an assisting agency as opposed to the primary response agency there. And but in most, I think Mike would agree, by and large, the large amount of search and rescue that's done in Haywood County is on U.S. Forest Service land, and that makes the sheriff the primary responsibility. But then they work obviously directly with Mike and the search and rescue team here in the county. They're the initial responders that go out and do that.
So somebody calls 911, the sheriff is involved. Now you've called EMS.
And really and truly, the plan is not even to call us primarily, because we want to cut out the middleman, so to speak. I think our job was to help create the plan. And so the plan is that the sheriff's office gets the call, they do the initial investigation, but then they go directly with the search and rescue team, and maybe even that local fire department, to respond together in a trio of agencies to do that initial search and rescue.
And Mike, you being the director of Haywood County Search and Rescue, whether you get that call, whatever route that comes through, you know multiple people are probably already involved.
Right.
What happens when you get that call?
So we have a search urgency form. So sometimes we get to talk to these people on the phone. Sometimes we get 30 seconds on the phone with them, right? Because cell coverage is not everywhere up here. So in the dispatch center, there's a search urgency form, and they try to get as much data as they can to at least get us going. And it's very simple, you know, hey, are you hiker? What gear do you have with you? What was your planned route? What's your name, birthday? Just all the one sheet. Let me ask you as many questions, yes, no, mark, mark, mark. His sergeant on duty will usually call me. It's either me or a couple other people, whoever's on call, and start making those decisions of how urgent is this, right? Is it worth going out at 2 o'clock in the morning, or is it let's wait till daylight? Is it an overdue hiker versus, hey, I've broke my leg and it's an actual rescue? Like, there's lots of things that go into it and lots of ways to kind of decipher down of, do we need to respond right now? Because there's an inherent risk when you do it, right? Especially at night. You know, night ops throw everything up as far as danger. Not that we don't want to do it, but we don't want to hurt ourselves. And so, like, we have these conversations of, hey, this is an overdue hiker, not familiar with the area, probably misjudged how long it's going to take them to go hiking. Maybe we wait till the morning when we got daylight on our side, then we start seeing what's going on, versus, hey, they've already been missing for 2 days. They have no supplies with them. Like, it creates urgencies. Is it snowing? Is it 70 degrees outside, or is it 10 degrees outside? So, like, we start factoring in all of these things of whether do we respond right now, or do we have a delayed response? And once we have come up with that plan, it's a discussion with my guys, his folks, fire department, and like, it's kind of the joint effort of, do we agree we need to go now, or do we need to kind of just put somebody sitting on their car and let's wait till the morning to when we got a little more with us. So once we make those decisions, the data gathering still keeps going. And so law enforcement, that's, you know, technically, like in the state of North Carolina, agency having jurisdictions in charge, which is the sheriff, in most of the places we go, they still keep investigating. Like, the investigating's not over, right? So if we can start coming up with a timeline, you start profiling people. We know the area, just as far as where people make bad choices. And a lot of it, and this is not unique to Haywood, it's kind of everywhere. There's trails that you can buy a map to, and the trails are on the map. And then there's 40 other trails that aren't on a map because people have just created these user trails. So they create decision points, and it can get really confusing, especially if you're not proficient. Technology is getting better. Initially, we were having lots of problems with some of the apps that you can get that had to have cell phone coverage to work accurately. And that's changed over the last few years, but that caused a lot of havoc for us of people not realizing the world is not completely covered in cell service. And you're talking about a county that's roughly 55% land mass.
Yeah, over 50% federal property.
Yeah, it's federal property, and there aren't cell towers in there. And
so Haywood County is over 50%
federal land, whether it's interior, whether it's national park or U.S. Forest Service. We don't have BLM land over here, but there is half of our county is in federal holdings of some department and undeveloped natural.
So once everybody puts their stamp, this is what we need to do, you still have the individual that's either out, you couldn't talk about, they're still injured. One of the things we really want people, this is not, you're operating fast, but you still have protocols. What are time frames on this? From the time it comes to you, you might chat with him, it gets to him, and then you hit the button and dispatch your team. What time frames are we talking here? On just a general case, something.
I would say realistically, from when the first call comes in to the button gets pushed, decisions made, button gets pushed, probably, depending on acuity, anywhere from a half an hour, well, 15 minutes to 45 minutes.
That's fast.
And then you've got drive time, right? I mean, so you're looking at another hour. It technically probably takes us an hour and a half to get up to an area operation.
At the initial planning point.
Yeah. I mean, we've got mileage too. We don't have double secret, but, being able to fly to places and all that neat stuff. We got curvy roads, and you can run emergency traffic. Still going to take you 45 minutes to get there. I mean, like this is a rural county. We're a growing county, but it's a rural county.
So one of the things that's been very prevalent that we've been hearing is, I would like to hear the sheriff's perspective and Greg, your perspective. The Haywood County Search and Rescue team is an all volunteer team. And how your perspectives in working with people that have the integrity that the team does, and we're learning, they're all volunteers. So talk about how important that is and to me, how unique that is from y'all's perspective. Because even though Mike is an EMT, he's volunteering the other half of his life, for the Haywood County Search and Rescue team. So talk about that, Sheriff.
That's the main reason that I wanted to come and be here this morning, is to be able to tell someone just what great people that Haywood County Search and Rescue has. These men and women, these guys and girls, they give up hundreds of hours of their life each year to go out and to look for and to save other people's lives. And they do it for absolutely no reason except for just satisfaction that they were out, that they have that servitude attitude, that they want to go and help somebody. And we don't find that much anymore with anybody, really, especially with service organizations. As we see people continue to dwindle in volunteerism, these guys and girls, they step up. And one of the things that they do for the sheriff's office is, if I had to pay as the sheriff through the budget for search and rescue and had to pay these people by the hour like I would a deputy sheriff who goes out and is part of what they do, God only knows what that budget would have to be each year. But these people, they're just amazing. They go out of their way and they give so much to this county. And unfortunately, so many people don't know about the Haywood County Search and Rescue Group until that they just read about them in the paper where they have saved somebody else's life. But they're outstanding people that have character and integrity, and they're just fabulous in what they do.
Why do you think they do it?
Yeah, it has to be. It has to be that they just have a heart for service for other people. They're lifesavers, literally, and the number of lives that they've saved is I don't even know what the number is, but that they are that they're just great people who want to serve others.
Greg, what's your perspective on that?
Obviously that's why I'm here as well. But the icing on the cake to just add to what you said, Sheriff, was putting a face and a number to the realism of how many hours it takes to do this. Mm-hmm. It's not just hundreds of hours, it is strenuous, physically demanding, and also cognitively demanding courses and other things physical things that they do to prepare themselves for that moment. And that moment happens a lot, dozens of times a year.
Pretty recent, yeah.
And the passion, speaking to the passion, I had the opportunity very recently, to drive an 8-person team of the search and rescue team a couple counties away for a search and rescue mission that they were assigned to do. And the entire time that we were driving over there, the team was huddled around each other, dissecting exactly what kind of strategies that they would use and talking about danger factors, about whether they should carry their ropes with them or should they wait to see if they found them and then go back, and all of this dialogue back and forth. I've never seen such passion, and I've also never seen such competence in this field, and I think it relates directly to leadership of Mike, but it also relates directly to finding the right people that want to do this. We've tried so many times in Haywood County to allow just medics and deputies and firefighters, well, just take on this additional responsibility. It's not that often. Just go up there on the mountain and find people. And it failed miserably every time, Sheriff. I think we agree with that. It was when Mike came along and brought this into a profession. It's a profession of search and rescue. And in Western North Carolina, particularly Haywood County, it was so needed. We did the best we could for so long, but to have that kind of leadership, to bring the right people to the table, give them the training, insist on the physical fitness standards, and now then look what we have and look at those lives we've saved. They've saved. It's just amazing.
Mike, as someone, you're hearing this from the sheriff, and obviously your role is vitally important. And I don't even know if you can define your why, because you're one of these volunteers. You're one of these, Nancy's husband said this yesterday, servant leader. You're one of these servant leaders, and you probably don't look at yourself like that.
Oh, it's making him very uncomfortable.
It's
He's like, I want to leave. I don't even want to be here. Why are they
immediately uncomfortable?
Thanks, guys.
Just talk about it. Just what you're thinking right now, as they say this.
Why am I here? Okay. Now, I, golly, my entire adult life, that's all I've done is help people. So so the rescue squad gave me the opportunity. They're like, hey, we're trying to get this. We're not in a place where it's going where it needs to go. And so that was, hey, okay, I'll do it. But it's not going to be, let's grab a bunch of deputies. Let's grab a bunch of firefighters. And then there's nothing against it. So one of the coolest things that makes this work is the people that are on the team. It's, kind of pushing the direction, but it's the folks on the team that make it happen. These are people these are the Nancys, these are the Kyles, these are the people who are just part of this community. They don't want to be a firefighter. They don't want to be a cop. They just want to figure out a way of how they can get back to their community. And they're like, oh, we like being in the woods. Wait, you'll let me train and teach ropes and get all this stuff and we don't have to pay for it and we can help people and we get to go in the woods? Okay. 90% of the people on the team aren't even in public service. I could probably count on two hands the number of people that are in public service. Everybody else is retired. Everybody else has jobs, just regular jobs. And so it just worked out to where everybody kind of has that. We have passion for the outdoors. We have passion for people. And it happened, right? So we don't, and having, when we started kind of building this, having conversations with fire departments, hey guys, we're not taking anything from you, right? But this is the only thing we have to worry about. We don't have to worry about a house catching on fire in our district because that's not our job. We don't have to worry about going on a medical call in our district or an MVA or anything like that. We're here to supplement. This is the only thing we're going to do is search and rescue. And we're going to train and get really, really good at it instead of having to wear 20 hats. And so rural county, you wore 20 hats when you wore 20 hats. And so that's really cool to wear 20 hats, but it wears on you. And so you can be, a jack of all trades and a master in nothing. And that, it's not picking, but that's what ends up happening, because this is I say in the public service world, this is a low frequency, right? We probably do actual 50, anywhere between 25 to 50 searches a year. Sounds like a lot. But when you look at the 15,000 calls that EMS runs, the 40,000 calls that the sheriff department goes on, so we're kind of small. But when it happens, and it's not one person to mitigate it. It is an army of people. Now it might be 10 people on the tailgate of my truck. We figure it out, we go deal with it, and we go home. Or it might end up being a 5-day needle in the haystack where EM's got trailers and comms, and we're having to call in other resources from outside the county, and the sheriff's got 4 or 5 people up there helping manage this entire thing. I mean, our searches go from, sometimes some of us can talk to them on the phone if we have self-service and get them out and we never have to deploy. I might go up there and just walk in and say, hey guys, follow me out, and walk out. Or we might end up with 500 people having to look for these people. Like the volume of land that we have to deal with. And so these people that are on the team, there's 40 people on the team, and they enjoy the punishment. They're like, yeah, want to give back, want to do my gig to my county and be a supporter. And this is how they chose to do it. So like it's really a cool thing. You don't, and volunteerism is getting harder. Like this, I hate saying the society we live in, but it's, there was a time when it was like, hey boss, I need to go on a search. And they're like, cool, go search and come on back.
We'll just keep you on the clock.
Right. And so like that kind of mentality, that doesn't exist anymore. Right. And so it's getting harder to find people that can have a life, right? Because we don't want to take anybody's life away from them or their livelihood. Have a life, still have time to give and donate. And, I mean, it's a chess match. I mean, I don't know any other way to put it, of like, how do you, well, this person has responded to 40 of the 50 calls this year. That's awesome. Well, this person responded to 2. Okay, thank you for those 2, right? Like, you can't get mad. You can't, the 2 might be all they have to give. We just luck, right? You just, you got to pick and piece and understand, how to manage all of that stuff. And it's neat.
It's very apparent that the 3 of you have worked together, you have a relationship, and you probably have worked together so much you understand each other's, probably what the person might be thinking, and can make a decision. But there is a particular case where all 3 of you work together, and I'd like to hear from all 3 of your perspectives on the David Crockett case. I don't know who got the call. I'm assuming the sheriff, you guys got a call. And just start us off and walk us through that case, how you guys ended up working together, and, maybe the finality of that and how things ended, and just have a conversation with each other.
So the best I remember is that these 2 guys walked into the woods, and they were going to go for just an afternoon outing.
Yes.
And they got turned around on the trail, and they called us, but it was sometime later after they had been in the woods for quite a while. And at the same time, bad weather was starting to come our way to the mountains of western North Carolina. And that's how that began. They called us to just give us a location of where they thought they might be, told us where their car was parked, and that they needed help.
Oh, it was messy.
We can talk about search urgency.
Yeah.
And Mike mentioned search urgency. That's like when someone, even a 2-person group calls with the impending weather, that kind of puts the weather puts a trump on every other things amongst other.
Changes.
And lost, missing, darkness coming, below 20-degree temperatures forecast, as well as high winds and snow.
Yeah. And
that takes urgency.
Minimal by the time they called, and again, this was January 17 that this happened. So we're going a few years back, but they, if I remember correctly, they had already been lost for a day, if I remember correctly,
Before they called.
before they called us.
Wandered around the wilderness.
And so trying to correct their problems, which is not abnormal. You know, well, I can fix this. I can fix this. No, I can't fix it. You know, and so, and this technology was not where it is now, right? This is 5 years ago, and that is what kind of got them off track, was technology and cell-based stuff, and when they made contact, it was two of them. They were supposed to be out for a day hike. They had already been missing for a day. They had minimal equipment, as in almost nothing. One of them had a lighter with them. Minimal food, minimal water, and they didn't even know where they parked. And I'm not saying that meanly to them. They had gotten on an app. They followed the directions on the app, but they're not familiar with the area. They have no idea the name of these different things. And so, you want me to keep going, or?
Keep going.
Okay.
And
yeah.
it's
So.
okay to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
very honest and direct.
Yeah. So that dispatch called me and was like, "Hey, we got some lost hikers." I was like, "That's great." They're like, we have them on the phone, and at the time I was supervising for EMS, so I was able just to go up to the dispatch center, and I actually got to talk to these people, and they're like, "Yeah, we have no idea where we're at."
Were you talking to David specifically?
Yeah. We have no idea where we were at. We have no idea where we parked. We have no idea what trail we're on, and so it was a in and out of cell service, multiple conversation of trying to just collect data. What can you tell me? Where were you going? Well, I don't know where I parked. What were you doing? Like before this, 2 hours before, tell me where you were at. Right. And so it took, and again, a little rusty, but I think it took almost an hour between me and the sergeant that was on that day of, okay, I think I've got it narrowed down to this area. Go look at all the trailheads in this area, please, and tell me if you can find this car. And so it was almost an hour of, nope, not at this trailhead. Not at this, but we're zoning in, we're getting closer, we're narrowing it down.
David instructions.
At that point, it was like, hey, hold still, we're coming, it's gonna take a little while, phone go out. Like, it's just this intermittent service. And, so we ended up, we found his car. So we found the car, we knew where they started from. And so going into search theory and going into lost person behavior and all of these other nationally recognized classes and experience and everything else, we start sitting down and making a plan. All right, we know they're here. We know that, like, one of the problems is the app they were using is kind of an open sourced app, which is awesome. But there was not a whole lot of oversight at the time. And there were names of trails that weren't really the names of trails. So they're giving us the names of trails on their app, which is actually not the name of the trail, right? So there's confusion in definition. And, okay, well, I'm going to download that app and start trying to transpose, and so we can actually get the right names of trails.
Downloaded the app and tried
Literally right then, and was like, okay, so now let's, it's the behind the scenes of trying to make all this work to set the people that have to go up and find them successful is astounding. Like, most people will never understand the front side of a search, right? It's not the romantic side. It's cussing at each other and, no, you're wrong. This is why I think this is what.
Oh, yeah.
It is. No, I mean, it's totally, spirited conversations of, no, listen, guys, we've got to do it this way. But anyway, and so, but you got to understand it's not a personal thing. It's like, we're trying to do the best we can for those people. And urgency, as it goes up, like, obviously the spirit goes up as well, and it's like, all right, I've had enough of you. I need you out of the trailer because I'm not talking to you anymore. And I mean, don't take it personal, but like, we're done, right? And so anyway, we kind of figure out where these guys are, and we kind of think we know what they're going, the route that they're going to go. or what their intended route was. But then we also know where decision points happen and bad mistakes happen off of history. Hell yeah, we've been up there 20 times going to get people because right here at this decision point, they always take a left when they were supposed to take a right, right? Because it's wilderness. So wilderness, and that's what a lot of people don't understand as well. You look at what an actual wilderness designation is. There's minimal to no signage in a wilderness because it's supposed to be maintained nature. So all of a sudden, you have all of these accesses that are, hey, go this way for this, go this way for this. You cross that wilderness line, they all disappear. And so you throw user trails in there too, and people start getting really confused, and things happen. So anyway, we think we know where the route, so we start sending people up. And the inclement weather that we're talking about, the day that this happened, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was almost 50 degrees. And in a 12-hour period, it went from 50 to 12 and 3 feet of snow. Right, and so
And the wind blowing 50.
and the wind blowing. Oh yeah, that the wind blowing 50 miles an hour. So we went from okay conditions to absolutely life-threatening, miserable conditions within a 12-hour period. So we had a lot of people locally, our guys in the woods trying to find these people. Like the timeline's coming. We're watching the radar of the storm coming, and trying to find these people. We just can't find them. They're nowhere on their intended route.
So you're out, your team's out.
Yep.
Where are you guys in this scenario?
About Ivester Gap, weren't you?
Dog loser?
Yeah.
It's not all the time that we get, thank goodness, that we get such an urgent message that someone is lost in that kind of conditions. And our county has an incident management team that is designed for search and rescue and other hazards that might happen in our county that can support this type of effort. We cannot ask dozens and dozens of searchers to come to a parking lot in those kind of weather conditions and then expect it to go well without some level of support. So we have tents and heaters and trailers and food and people, and we can make maps and we create plans. We can call for additional resources. So this team responded immediately. That's not normal. Normally, that happens the next day, because 90-some% of the time, the search and rescue team and the sheriff's office is successful within just a few hours of the call out. But on this one here, with the urgency and the weather, we went ahead and deployed our incident management team. So that's what happens with us is we bring the supporting element. That we call it hero support. It's hero support for these folks and these folks, and they do the work, and we give them the heat, we give them the extra resources, whatever they need. We check the weather. Maybe we can get some helicopters or whatever it happens to be that they say they need. That's what we do. Okay, so we set that up at the parking lot in question there and support them that way.
And on this particular search, because of the urgency of with the weather coming in and with them not being on a trail that we thought that they were going to be on, and for us to be able to just to have them follow us back out, we can't find them. I went ahead and responded up to the scene as well. And the reason I was there is basically to try to make sure that if there's resources that need to be called for, that these guys get what they need. And sometimes if boots are on the ground, it's a whole lot easier for me to understand what they need and for me to make that phone call from there, and I can get those resources that they need. Working with Greg, and as many as we had done, unfortunately, we kind of play off each other when it comes to this resource management, to where we can make those type phone calls to get what Mike needs.
And what was the end result of this particular case from, let's have the three of you give your perspective. the final result? We know you found them.
Right.
So talk us through.
So after several days of searching, and and I guess to kind of put it in perspective, we're not talking about a 1 mile hike to get into this area. We're talking
About 6 miles.
6 to 8
center.
one way, no roads, all boots on the ground, somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 feet of elevation change to get there. And go ahead and throw 3 feet of snow on top of it. This is not something you just drive in, deploy, and start doing. Like, these people are having to hike 6 miles to get to where they need to start searching for the next 3 miles. Like, so, I mean, this is super physical, super intensive, and a huge amount of area again. And so we looked. Their phone went dead. So now we looked where we figured out where they were supposed to be. They weren't. So now you start going out, right? And so this probability area is changing. And so we're having to, more people, more resources, more area, right? So other resources are coming in. And we end up calling in between Sheriff and Greg. North Carolina has between North Carolina National Guard, North Carolina EM, HART team, which is a helicopter rescue team, as well as the State Highway Patrol has a helicopter. We started getting helicopters with FLIR to look for these, I mean, just seeing if we can find them. And we had to wait for conditions to get to where they could fly, right? Because it was a huge storm. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it was the Highway Patrol helicopter that finally spotted them.
They spotted
But
them.
the campfire, they couldn't extract them.
No.
But they spotted them, which then relayed to get the UH-60 up there to actually elicit the rescue. At the same time, all of our folks met them too. Like, it was just a timing thing that we finally, okay, we've cornered them down, and we were able to, I mean, just kind of simplifying, but able to get them extracted by a helicopter that was able to take them to Asheville, get them transferred to a medical unit over there, and get them to the hospital. Because we were at 3 days at this point.
Yes, I believe 3 days.
Yeah, and I mean, it worked out well.
It was the day after the storm that the find was made by the team as well as the Highway Patrol helicopter.
But even after identifying where they were, that was still, the extraction, even with helicopters, was, if I remember correctly, 6-8 hours, because they were found during the day and it was dark by the time contact was made. And then, so the 2 people you were originally worried about are now out, but now you got to worry about the other 40 people that you sent in the woods that you're responsible for. So, okay, guys, now we're going to have to sit there and self-rescue and get everybody out. Parkway was closed because of the weather, so having to get stuff plowed in, trying to find the easiest way to get these people out. Because, it's logistics. Like, people have no idea what it takes and all the little pieces. And, hey, here's your part, and here's what you're responsible for. Here's my part. Here's your part. And
Who plows the snow on the Blue Ridge Parkway on
Right.
Saturday?
Right. Like, and I mean,
Who do you,
and so,
who do you call?
right. Well, I might not know, but I know a guy that might know. Well, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure I know the guy that knows. Yeah, I know. You need to call this guy. I mean, and so that's the thing. It's not, like.
And all that takes time.
Yeah. Everything has a timestamp on it. And anybody that tells you they know what they're doing is probably not being completely true, because everybody has a plan until you get kicked in the face, right? You have this idea that this is how it's going to go. And then somebody punches you and you're like, wow, this is not how this is going to go. Like, so we're learning, and the adaptability on all sides of a search, it's insane. Like, you have got to be able to, you can't fit the situation into your head. You have to make your head fit the situation. And understanding how people work and profiling people and understanding there's so much data out there, and keeping your emotions in check. Emotions what drive us, but you can't let your emotions start letting you make decisions. You've got to balance responder safety, versus, hey, I got it, and this is a bad situation, but we're waiting till the morning because I'm responsible for 40 people that we're getting ready to put in the woods, and I'm not going to have them break their leg because of a choice you made. Got it? We care about you, but we're going to try to turn everything to our advantage before we start reacting, than just.
Well, the thing that really would help us in these situations, and they happen, they're too common in our area. Simple things that Crockett and Alradati could have done, as well as others that might do this in the future, is to let people know where they're parking.
Mm-hmm.
What was your route of travel? What is your expected time to exit the woods? Simply checking the weather, and that's mountain weather. That's not not weather in Raleigh. That's weather where we can get, you know, out of all the things, the searches that we've gone on, and this one being a premier dangerous search that had a happy ending, some things could have been done, such as that would have prevented this search and rescue from being what it was, and also from preventing the injuries they sustained. And we did have responder injuries. Thank goodness it was not serious, but we had responder injuries. And to put and I've been asked many times, and the sheriff's been asked to put a price tag on this kind of search and rescue. And it sounds like a cop-out, but I don't know how to do that. The price tag is the determination, the passion, and the humble service that these folks and other teams from across the Western North Carolina that helped them to do. How do you put a price tag on that, Sheriff? I don't know how to. You can't pay for that.
I don't think that you can put a price tag on it. It goes back to these guys and girls. It has to be a calling for them, and it has to be something that they get from down deep inside to as part of just their life plan to get out and to do the things that they do to save other people's lives. Very few people that I know would answer their phone at 2 o'clock in the morning and it's 20 degrees and snowing extremely hard. And if they were asked to come to some of the places that these people have been asked just to drive to, not to get out and go actually look for somebody, but just to drive to, I'd get very few people that would take me up on coming to look at.
There's going to be some anomalies there where we're always going to have to go save lives, you know. But it happens too often. And the simple things that folks can do to be self-prepared and to let others know what their plan is and things like that. Mr. Crockett and Mr. Alradati are alive today because of this search and rescue team and a big ladder.
Yep.
You agree?
And other teams are. I mean, it's not us. If they had not been able to start a fire, I'm pretty confident they. In fact, the last day when their phone came back on, they had lost their phone, and I guess just being shut down, they had enough battery juice. When dispatch called me, I was waiting for them to say we just found their bodies. Quite honestly, but the answer was, "You'll never believe this. We just talked to them. They're still alive." And that was reinvigorating of like, all right, kids, today's the day. We're making the push. And it happened, right? And, you know, it doesn't fall on my shoulders, but you and I have had conversations into multiple things. It's the other side of the fence. When this is a finite resource. Like, what happens when you run out of people to go in the woods? And what happens when you, run out of money and all this stuff of, like, have we done our due diligence looking for someone? And so that's your agency having jurisdiction. We all kind of bear the cross, but that kind of goes on, hey, we need to talk about this. Like, so we luckily have had the conversations, but we have never had to pull that trigger, right? Of like, here, like, okay, we've got to start crossing T's and dotting I's. Did we do everything based on national standard? Were we competent in this? Let's look where everybody searched. Let's make sure that we did what we were supposed to, because there comes a point that you have to suspend a search, whether you want to or not. Like, you can't continue doing that. And we luckily have never had to get to that point, but that's always kind of the conversation that you have to think about in the back of your head of, how are you going to explain this to their loved ones?
And who makes that final call? Is that you, Sheriff?
Well,
I guess it's a call that I have never had to make, but I'll be honest with you, I would not make that call by myself. I have always relied on Greg Shuping and Mike Street to help me as we had those conversations. And unfortunately, we've had those conversations out beside a trailer parked out in the middle of the woods on more than one occasion. Is how much longer do we continue pushing this manpower, and how much more manpower do we have? You know, we have called people from Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, Alabama. They have come in to help us, and we've been here for days. When do we think that it is going to be time? And we have been literally within an hour
Teetering.
of saying that we have now decided to at least scale back operations, and thank God we have never had to do that. But it's because of this team that we have not had to do that. Their diligence and their go-getiveness, if we want to call it that, they will not. They just won't stop. And so it makes it easy for me and Greg to really lean on Mike when it comes to making those kind of decisions, because he knows his team, but they also are just great people who don't want to come out of the woods without what they went in to go look for. And sometimes, you know, we have had celebrations, and sometimes we've cried on each other's shoulders because they did find what they were looking for in the person, but it wasn't the outcome that they wanted to go and sit back and talk to the family about. But at the end of the day, in my 10 years of being the sheriff, we never left anyone behind. And it's because of these guys and our county EM.
Yeah, so Greg. This Greg was talking about what can you do, right? And so I think that's kind of one of the prefaces of this is, so people are always going to get lost, right? If people didn't have bad luck and make bad choices, none of us would have jobs, right? And so, I mean, that's always kind of make fun of that, but like, leave a plan. You know, hey, I'm going hiking here. This is where I plan on going, right? And even if you deviate from that, at least we kind of know where you're going, right? So it's all about how small can we get an area to start searching, right? And so leave a plan, and on top of that, let somebody know, let them know a tie line, let somebody know the plan. And the number one thing on searches and even on rescues, if we have to go get somebody that's broken, is 10 essentials. Nancy calls it PSAR, preventative search and rescue, right? We're trying to work ourselves out of a job. We love it, but our job is complete when nobody gets lost. And we do things to do that. But there's 10 things you need to be, and I think you've talked to Nancy about that. Number one thing, well, why don't you have a flashlight? Well, I was planning on going on a day hike. You're missing the entire concept of this. Whether you plan on going hiking for an hour or 3 days, these are the 10 things you take with you. Like, it's not, I was planning on being out by now, but you're not, and that's why we're here, right? So here are the 10 things you need to always have with you, whether you plan on going for an hour or all day, take these with you, period. Not that they're going to save you, but they are going to keep you viable and not keep you comfortable. They will keep you alive, and they will give us time to do our job. We are good at our job, but there's a timeline that happens, and it's not instantaneous. You know, you can kick and scream and be scared, but there's a timeline it takes us for all this to happen. So if you have these 10 things, you greatly increase your chances of having a positive outcome in this stuff. You know, and so, I mean, we always make fun. Lack of preparedness on your side doesn't create an emergency on our side. It kind of does. Right? And so, but it's a game changer going back to search urgency. If you can sit there and tell me, yes, I've got a way to make a fire. I've got a way to have water. I've got a piece of plastic that I can make a shelter out of. That urgency doesn't mean we're not going to come get you. It lowers our urgency of, oh my gosh, we got to happen right now, right? Because we have to think about the deputies that are going up there, my folks that are going up there. If they're injured, the EMS folks going up there, right? So it's not, there are so many little wheels in this world that so we have to take all of that into account. And if we can take that emotional urgency of, oh my gosh, we got to react right now, we have time to stop and think, hey, you good with this? You good? I mean, so it gives us time. Right. Hey, well, and it's a group decision, and it's a group decision at every level. We might have, hey, here's the plan. You good, right? It even goes down to the teams, you know, hey, man, this is what we're thinking. Y'all okay with this? Is this something that you can do? You know, and nah, that's too much for, you know, or whatever. And so we make modifications. It's like everybody is on board with this entire process. So leave a plan, 10 essentials. I'm not going to beat that dead horse because I think y'all talked to Nancy about that, you know, ad nauseum. So that those are the two biggest things, is not telling you not to hike, not trying to make it scary. Just set yourself up for success and be part of the team. Because and this has happened, you know, the needle in the haystack. I have no idea where I am. My phone's getting ready to die. I just walked up on a ridge top and got cell service, and I parked, click, and the phone's dead. And so now we have a 5-day of trying to find a needle in a haystack, literally. And you know,
that's relying on luck as a strategy.
Yeah, and luck is not a strategy. Luck is great when it shows up, but if you're using it as a strategy, you might want to rethink life choices.
This has been great. I got one more thing. So if each one of you could just say one thing, and we'll use this clip somewhere else. One piece of advice for somebody like David, you know, like Susan, whatever. They've called you. What's the one thing they need to do so you can find them?
Not to keep them from being lost, but so that we can find
them.
So
you can find them.
The lost has already happened?
The lost has already happened.
Sit down.
Don't move. It's hard to shoot at a moving target, right?
So
you say...
Well, I don't take words out of his mouth. Just you can't hit it.
Off the cuff, what do they need to do? They've called, and you got to find them. What are you telling them?
Do not move. Stay where you are.
Period. Unless there is a life threat at the place you are at right now, the number of people that are like, no, I think I can get my way out. You're on the phone with You're on the phone with 911. You obviously cannot, right? Right. This is not a therapeutic walkthrough, kiddos. Like, you're lost. If you will sit down, you know, and we've all done. I mean, we're heckling about it, but it is, man. Like that, and I say success rate, I'm talking about timely manner success rate. If you sit down, is so much better. If you sit down, I got it. You're going to be uncomfortable. Sorry, right? And I got it. There's things in the woods that might scare you, or you might be cold. You don't have to sit down. Do jumping jacks. Just don't move. Like, trying to hit a moving target, it makes it so much worse, and it's not just about you, if that makes sense. Like, now we're jeopardizing all of the people that are hunting. Right. Just sit down. Let us do our job. I got it. You're going to be maybe uncomfortable, maybe scared, not judging. But if you will just hold still, it is so much easier to find a fixed point than it is a moving target. So if the lost has happened, if you can contact someone, sit down. And if you move up a hill to get a cell phone signal, sit down there, right? Because technology helps us. Like, don't go up, make a phone call, and then go back down. If you have cell signal, that's where you need to be. And so, like, that I can't emphasize that enough. Trying to hit moving targets it's frustrating from a management side, because now we're having to put more resource in there, and we got to worry about their health and safety too. Now, like, sit out, something that could have been accomplished in 4 hours is now an 8-hour journey because you couldn't hold still.
Well, in addition to those things, work a plan out with the dispatcher. The telecommunicator on the other end of the 911 call is going to give you some advice, and you need to do what they say. And that, because that advice has come from sometimes years of discussion and the creation of the urgency forms and other things, we want you to follow the instructions of the officials once you make that call. So it could be to stay still, but it could also be to plan where you're going to cut your phone off to save battery, and maybe only turn it on and call us every 30 minutes.
Right.
So whatever that instruction is, I think you need to follow it. And that sounds simple, but when you're lost and you're not really in your right mind, you're a little concerned for your safety and whatnot, obviously that plays with your mind a little bit. So,
And the one thing we could walk away, just stay put. Stay put.
Yeah. Once lost has happened, if you can make contact, again, stay put, without getting in a lot of detail, as long as there is not a life threat where you're at, stay put, right? And if you make phone contact with somebody, follow the plan that you're taught. Don't try to be
relying on them to follow the plan. That's how we're reacting.
Right. So, we have to take any person at their word. That's all we have, right? So, calm down, have the conversation, and just whatever plan is activated between you and the dispatcher or who you talk to, follow it. Like, don't decide you need to deviate from that. So.
Awesome, guys.
Hey, and I know this doesn't have to be part of this, but I want to say the amount of searches that we think that we're going to go on because of that initial 911 call, where that they contact the sheriff's office first and then they contact Mike, and Mike has been able to walk these people out of the woods by saying, where do you think you are? Can you give me some idea? Can you give me a landmark? Is there anything that you see that you can tell me that you feel might be important? The number of people and the groups that he's been able to walk out of the woods and stay with them on that cell phone until they got to their vehicle, I'd like to know. It would be over 20 at least in my tenure as being sheriff, because this guy,
He's going to be a rich man.
they say there's a shiny white rock and that I can see, and he'll ask them just a couple of questions, and next thing you know, he has them where it is amazing what he can see by what he hears on the phone to be able to walk these people out. So, hey, I have...
And we'll leave that in, because we have been told by we have been shared with by multiple people.
Really? Y'all can leave that out if you want.
No.
It is amazing what this guy...
It's not just me. I mean, there's it's everybody. I mean, there are so many people on the team that are like, oh yeah, no, hold on, I know exactly where they're at. Like, it's not, but you're also, again, leaning on people who recreate in that area. It's not like we sit there and surf the couch and only go in the woods when this happens. These are people who spend...
Almost every time when there's a search activated, half of his team's already up there searching. They've literally got to the scene of the parking lot before, and his team is like bringing somebody out with them. They weren't even deployed.
Wow.
Part of the search.
They were just
already there.
Yeah. I mean,
David Walker.
these are, yeah, no, these are people, and it's not me, and it's not Greg, and it's not Greg. Like, so that's the thing. You don't get to tag how this works to one person. It's not. Like, it just all of a sudden everything shifted into the right position. It started with 10 of us, and then before that it was just these. It was random things, but it was 10 people that like, okay, we have this opportunity. What are we going to do with it? And it was the Wild West. We were like, okay, wow, that didn't work. Let's take that off the list and let's try something else. Like, and it takes so many people to do this. It's not a one person thing. It's an everybody thing, and it's got to work. And kind of referring back, you've got this guy that shows up, or guy or girl that shows up for 40 searches, but you got guy or girl that shows up for 2. At the moment, that 2 is just as important, right? You know, and so you shake a hand, you kiss a baby, you thank them, because it's just as important, because the person you saved, those 2 people, they are no less important than the 40 of the other person. And so, like, everybody has a role to. It's not, oh, he did this, or oh, she did this. It's a we thing. Like, it 100%. This does not work because of one person at all, and you can't put a price on that. Period.
And something else I'd like to add is the fact that we in Haywood County was blessed to have an EM director who knows at least as many people in this kind of the world of search and rescue and emergency management as anybody that I know throughout the state of North Carolina, and that's Greg Shuping. Greg has contacts throughout not only North Carolina but the Southeast that he was able to pick up and call. And so many times whenever these guys would start to wear down and start to get worn out, that Greg was able to pick up the phone and reach out to people throughout our region to come and help us. And it was because of the contacts that he had made and the relationships that he had built through the years that that was just another plus for Haywood County.
Well, yeah, and it's that way in teams. Like, we're nothing special. We're a team of volunteers. We're not the only team of volunteers. Like, most search and rescue teams on the East Coast are volunteer, but there's not for profit. I mean, we work closely with a group out of Alabama, and we all talk to each other, and it's like, you get a random phone call. Hey man, what's up? Nothing. Well, I'm on a search in Virginia, and here's what I got. You got a few minutes to talk. Can I send you some info? And what are your estimates on this? Like, there's a group of us regionally that these conversations happen, because, like, the number of people that are in this and are willing to commit the time to become search theory guys or lost person behavior guys or gals, it's low acuity. Or it's high acuity, low frequency. People can't put a lot of money in this. So, but when I can pick up the phone and call my buddy in Virginia and Alabama and Tennessee and be like, hey, here's what I got. I'm going to put this in a package together, and this is where technology works out real way. Here's the link to go to the map. You know, disregard this. Here's the information. Draw a map and let me know what you would do. Right. So now you get these subject matter experts throughout the country, you know, that you have this consensus. Okay, well, we all chose this place. That might be where we need to start searching, right? You know, and so it's all about not only helping the people that are lost, it's about helping each other, because, like, it's consuming. It can get really consuming, but it's awesome. So
Excellent. So good, you guys. So good. And thank you so much.
mm-hmm.
So good. So good. Can you think of anything?
It's been an absolute privilege.
Yes.
Well, and thank you guys. You know, I mean, like, this is something that we try our best, like with the PSAR stuff that, like, Lane does and Nancy does, right? But you're still kind of in this box of being able to get this information out. We worked with Forest Service, came up with new signs, you know, and all of that helps. Like if we go from 50 calls a year down to 20 calls a year, right? We're trying. Our goal is to work us out of a job. Right, but I mean, we know that's not going to happen, right? But so this kind of stuff is just getting it out to the audience, You know, and it's not like the 5-day backpacker that's our usual problem. It's somebody who came up here to enjoy the county in which we live in.
The day hiker.
And they do not realize what they're getting into, and they don't know they're in trouble until they're in trouble. And so having these opportunities just to get the word out of, hey, not telling you not to do it, not trying to scare you away from doing it, but if you're going to do it, here's what you need to do. And so understand there are people in the background that will come and help you, but the more you can set us up for success, the better chances happen. So, and these kind of opportunities are what make that happen, right? So we appreciate it.
Well, we're excited, and our overall goal is at the beginning of 2024 that we would present you guys with, we would do a private showing
Oh, that's awesome.
with obviously everybody that's involved in the film.
Yeah.
Anybody that wants to come, Haywood County Search and Rescue, and we were
That'd be cool.
trying to figure out places. Nancy was, she was throwing out places. Oh, maybe we could have it here. Maybe we could have it here. And then after that, do a premiere in Waynesville at Nancy's helping us with theaters.
Right.
And you make it more than just coming, to see the film. Like, maybe Nancy does a workshop. Maybe some of you guys do a presentation, and make it a series of things, but make the overall arching thing is that we're collecting money for Haywood County, for the Western North Carolina Wilderness Safety Fund.
Yes.
So today when you come, whether you come to y'all's direct workshop, whether you come here, Nancy, but if you come to the film, we're going to ask you for money.
Yeah.
And these are the reasons why.
That's awesome.
And that's the overall arching theme of, kind of what we want to do. And if we can mimic that in some other areas, maybe Asheville, maybe, if we can mimic that in some surrounding places, I think that will help even more. So once we get this done, we're not done. I feel like once
I
we get this
recommend
done,
Bryson City,
okay.
Gatlinburg,
Cherokee.
and Cherokee, as well as Asheville.
we know Mike Parker, who is the marketing director for the Eastern Band of Cherokee.
Well, I could help maybe set you up with Nancy.
Yeah.
Could help you set up with the park,
Okay.
the national park.
Mm-hmm.
That would Liz, I believe, is the person out there for marketing and emergency management stuff. So they would support the Gatlinburg and the Bryson City one, help you get the word out for that.
So that is the goal.
Yeah. That's it's awesome.
Yeah.
Like it's yeah.
Kind of like you, we don't know why, but we've just been called to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're
Don't
hard to
know,
explain.
It's like you go like,
Quit trying to explain it, right?
because people are like, what do you, you can't explain it. So quit. So like you said, quit
organic.
trying.
Well, and that's, like y'all are like, this is why I don't speak, one, because I'm highly caffeinated, and my ADD medicine just kicked in. So if you couldn't tell all of a sudden, things started flying. But
Get you more coffee?
so, no, you don't want that.
What kind of projects do y'all do besides this?
Well, we both have full-time jobs. I'm an educator in Charlotte-Mecklenburg school system, and Austin's got handful military. He's
Raleigh
a
PD.
full-time Raleigh PD. And we have one other documentary that we put out last year. It's about the Mountains of Sea Trail. It's called I Am the MST. So that is out. You guys can watch that. But
I am the MST.
I Am the MST. Yeah.
Okay. We'll check it out.
Yeah.
And we're actually going to be showing that film at NC Trail Days in Elkin, North Carolina.
Yeah.
And we're also going to be showing that in October. I don't know if you guys have heard of ALDA. It's the Appalachian Long Distance Hikers Association. So it's a group of, it's a hiker association run by hikers, about hikers, all about the trails on the East Coast. And they're excited. They actually invited us to show that film. So one of my secret goals is, and they've got, they'll gather 400 or 500 hikers, because it's workshops on other trails. Somebody might be talking about the Smokies. Somebody might be talking about Benton McKay, Pinhoti, Florida Trail. I'm hoping next year, 2024, we can get this film in there to show that.
Cool.
So we've got
aspirations.
We've got aspirations,
especially for this project.
Yeah.
There's such a universal
Well,
message.
and like this, if we can get the word out for other people, like not just for us, like we are I say horribly blessed, but we are horribly blessed with beautiful country in this county. But at the same point, like realizing that we have a duty, right, and a responsibility to take care of whoever shows up here, and everybody being on the same page of that. That's why it works, right? But so what happens in other places? Like if this could be shown to show people, go volunteer.
Yeah.
Like it might be on a search and rescue team if that's your bag, but like giving back to your community is huge, right? And so if that can motivate and help people, like I've helped a couple of other counties that are like, hey, how's this working? Pretty dang good. What do we need to do to set ours up? And can you walk me through that? Yeah, I'll send you my SOGs. I'll send you, I mean, whatever you want. I don't care. It's not copyrighted. Like if it's going to save people in your county,
Here.
I will give you everything
That's the goal.
that I have. Right. This isn't this,
Educational-
Feeling that
Yeah.
giving your time to serve others.
Yeah. I think one of the things that Nancy,
Julie Hayes giving you a hug at
Yeah.
the sheriff's office.
Yeah, boy.
It's like one of my top 3 things that happened to me in my entire career.
You're not kidding. Or for me to tell her husband,
For you to have
Hey.
that opportunity to stand
Oh,
there and
man.
tell him,
hey, let me tell you, as soon as that radio crackled, and I stepped out of that trailer, and there he stood, and he'd been sleeping in his car. What little bit he'd
For 3
been
days.
sleeping
Yeah.
for 3 days, and for me to tell him that, he grabbed a hold of me, and
This is the Julie
the
Hayes.
the yes, the Hayes search.
That was
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
That one was big.
she's the one that felled the tree. It was like,
She hikes to the top of Cold Mountain and says, "Whew, I'm wore out." Leans up against a tree and falls off the north face of a mountain
tree rod.
and lays there for 3 days with fractures and hypothermia and everything
She
else
was a hot one,
for
'cause-
dead.
'cause
She's there for
I
dead.
I had left when worked my EMS shift.
Mm-hmm.
He called me and was like, hey. I said, yes. He said, we found her. Great. She's hurt. You mind hiking in there? And
what do we do?
she was a hot. Yeah, it was the dog that caught the squirrel. We're like, is she breathing?
This is a very short story. You'll
No,
be here
you
all
guys
day.
go
You'll be
for
here
it.
all day with us. But we searched for 3.5 days, and the investigation went well.
how
The
did you guys
investigators-
find out about this? If she was,
So the investigators by now on day 3, we've got a 1-800 hotline. We're in the media. Please, somebody tell us something.
In from the husband, I believe, of hey,
Yeah.
my wife.
Yeah, she's an assistant DA in Tennessee, and so she's like 3 days out. Matt Shell, I believe, is running the investigation, and after day 3, we're looking for anybody that knows anything. Just tell us something. I don't even care if you knew her in elementary school. Call this number and talk to Officer Shell or the Deputy Shell. We want to know something. Finally, on day 3, this guy, I don't know if he's living under a rock or what, but he calls and he says, I camped on Deep Creek Trail, on Deep Gap, the only way to Cold Mountain. And he said, Julie Hayes walked by me and spoke to me, petted my dog. And I said, great. He said, there's one more thing. She never come back.
She never came off. There's a spur trail that goes at Deep Gap, the Art Load Trail. There's a spur trail that goes to
But we
Cold
already
Mountain.
searched up there, and so I said,
So he
"Hey,
was
I
the
don't know what's
blocker, and he didn't.
Some guy I didn't even know from Fish and Wildlife, Brandon Gillespie and Tanner Boland, walk into the command post and they say,
North Creek.
there's another trail up there. And I said, no, there's not. I've been here 30 years. I know everything. I know every trail there is to know. Tanner Boland says, well, you don't know this one? And I said, can you take them there? And they took them up there, and she was laying on the north face of Cold Mountain, about a half a mile down.
Up Lenore Creek.
And there was a twist to it because she was an assistant district attorney. It was what could have happened to her if she just happened to run across somebody on the trail
Conspiracy
that
stuff.
because now she may be killed by somebody that recognized who she was in her role as an assistant
So I
DA.
remember I used to have his cell phone. That guy called and he says, Matt Shell says, I'm conferencing you in with this guy right now. And I said, what do you got? because we'd heard everything. We had heard everything from she had been abducted by aliens to all this other stuff. And I said, "What you got?" He says, "I saw Julie Hayes. He camped on the trail, like on it, because it's way
Only
up."
public trail. So that the secondary trail is like a hunting trail that 98% of the public doesn't know about.
He says,
He said the exact right words.
he said, "She went by me, she petted my dog, she spoke,
Said she was going up top.
and she'd never come back."
She never came down.
And I went, "Hold up."
And I mean, you do the best you can with what you got.
Something that insignificant.
Right.
And he didn't even think enough to call till day three.
Three days in, you get that, and it's a game changer, right? So the only thing we are only as good as the information we get, right? That's why leave a plan so important,
Classic mystery.
right? And so Facebook stalking happens, and this happened. I mean, we have found people that we have been looking for a day that were in Asheville busking, playing music.
Yes.
I mean, like there are so many facets to this. It's insane. It's crazy, the stuff you go through and that you think you would never do. All of a sudden you're like, I am on social media. I hate it, but the only reason I'm on it is because I can build a profile of you.
You could stalk.
Yeah, as long as your pictures are public, I can tell. It's insane. And I'm not saying that in a creepy way. It actually helps out a lot. But yeah, I mean, it's those little, just that all of a sudden the right piece.
And then to have her come back 3 months, like where she stayed in hospital for how long, Sheriff?
She was in hospital.
Yes, lots of fractures, lots of internal injuries. Like, it's bad. And because I took her to the hospital.
Yeah, in fact,
Brought us a meal.
they came 3 years in a row
Yes.
afterwards on that particular day that she was found to say thank you to us, her and her husband. Super nice people.
Yes.
You were talking about a hug that you'll never forget from her husband. Before I interrupted you, so if you could go back to what you were saying.
No, it was just the fact that when that radio crackled, they have a positive find, and she is alive, because I think everybody around the command post had been prepping him for the fact that we may find her, but it's not going to be the results that we would want to come out and tell him. And whenever that happened, and I told him that she was found and she was alive, and he was a smaller gentleman, but he gave me a bear hug like I haven't had probably ever. And it just so happened that one of our media outlets was there and captured that hug, and it was on the front page of our local newspaper. So it was just really neat that came together, and there actually was somebody there to capture that. He was very thankful. Yeah.
What year was that?
I mean,
2017?
17, 16. It was 16, I guess.
September of 16?
Mm-hmm. Maybe.
Yeah.
It was the fall.
Yeah, it was the fall. Sure was.
Pretty sure it was 16.
Yeah.
Because Travis and I ended up going in up Lenore's Creek.
And a bunch of deputies.
Yeah. Oh, and a bunch of deputies, because we ended up having to. Like, she was bad. Like, we had to Stokes basket her
A lot of paramedic stuff.
Stokes baskets, ropes,
A 15-hour
that
rescue.
stuff. Yeah.
It took us 15
Once you
hours
found
to get her out.
He made the call to me. Hey, can you get an ambulance? I grabbed my gear. Somebody brought me a rescue squad ambulance. Me and another guy
Parked in
and a
cow
few
pasture.
parked in a cow pasture.
Parked
Hiked in, started treating her, got her stabilized, got her in a Stokes basket.
and all.
And oh no, I mean, she was talking, but
It was-
0 cents.
It was daylight when we found her.
Yeah.
And it was like 4 or 5 a.m.
I got
when we
back
got her
Sunday
back to the
next day.
ambulance.
Like, because I took her to mission,
Yeah.
and the sun was coming up when I was coming back.
How did she realize you were coming, or did she?
There were some thank yous and just kind of protecting some privacy stuff, but like she was in not good condition. She was hurt,
Yeah, it was
and talking but not making sense, not going into her injuries. But it was probably days before she could actually coherently put stuff together.
And weeks
Because
before she got to the hospital.
Because it was not when we were with her. They're like, hey, you've got a pulse, you're talking, we know your brain is working.
That's all.
Yeah, right. We got something to work with. Let's get you out of here and let's get you to a hospital because you are in poor condition right now. Not only the physical injuries, the emotional trauma, as well as just dehydration and everything else. Like, she is bad.
So 2 nights out or 3 nights out?
2 nights. Well,
Yeah, we found her.
2 nights.
I think
Third
we found her on day 3.
third night was the exfil. Like, we had made contact with her and everything.
Found
But
her on
I mean,
day 3 on
yeah.
night 3.
Yep.
when she
Afternoon
was
of day 3, night 3. Yeah, when she got out.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
How do y'all decompress from this stuff?
Scotch.
3 different answers.
Yeah.
Same
You got
effect.
This is the decompression. Talking about it, and it's like everybody on our team, and it's just yesterday they were involved in one and outside of the county. Like, that is the decompression. Hey, what went well? What didn't go well? Like, what could we do better? Like, that's the drive and the focus. It's not like, you talk about responder PTSD and all that exists, but like, that's like on our side of the fence, that's the decompression. What went well? What could we do better? And is there anything we can do to mitigate this before it even becomes an issue? And like, that's the decompression. And we're kind of cheating a little bit in the fact that like, we didn't, we have a pretty good recovery rate. And like, so decompression is usually a happy decompression, if that makes sense.
I think all of us in life are creating our own YouTube video. And there's a lot of great things that happen in our lives. And there's a lot of terrible things that happen in our lives. And we have to learn internally how to watch that video. And we can't find a pause button because that's not healthy. We have to watch the video whenever it triggers, whenever it starts playing. And we have to learn to fill the gaps because everybody's videos got voids in it. And what was the sheriff doing when we made that find? Or why didn't I see Mike at this very moment? Or whatever's missing. And that communication between us helps us complete the video. And then we can understand it, and then we can learn to live with it and find positive things in it that can take us through.
You get to add to it, but you don't get to delete it.
Yeah, there's no delete button. You try.
You live in and you will run yourself stupid trying to find the delete button. Doesn't exist. Quit. Take what you're trying to delete, figure it out, and keep going. Can you do that internally? And sometimes, but sometimes you need people to fill in the gaps to try to. I'll never forget, and this happened years ago, and I'll say it because Greg, everybody has a pretty long history, but there was Ralphie, and this was right when we started playing the game, and we were still trying to figure out what everybody could do, the dating period, if that makes sense, of what can you do, what's your capability, snowing. Poor little fella had been, long story, was stuck on the side of a mountain in snow that was probably almost up to his chest. And could not get out of that situation. And we come rolling up there, and this is one of the first times that we kind of deployed and really started working together. And we figured out a way to get the road plowed up on the parkway. And we sent people in snowshoes and rope skier. You would think they were getting ready to go ice climbing in the Himalayas.
I think we're in Oregon somewhere, not North Carolina.
And these guys are snowshoeing in, and this guy is, and where he is at is super steep, blah, blah, blah. And we're going and we are making our way. And I will never, and I'm saying this not in a bad way. I'm saying this as I think we started understanding that we needed to communicate better than we were. Behind the scenes, the heart team was being figured out and getting a helicopter because there was like, well, what's our plan B? Well, unbeknownst to us at this time, like, my guys are hooking ropes up. We made it all the way up to the top, and they are hooking ropes up to get ready to go get this guy. and a Black Hawk helicopter comes over. And we had no idea this was happening. Excuse my language. We were like somebody got on the radio and was like, Mike, what the fuck was that just flew over the top of me and dusted us like we couldn't see. Like it blew up all the snow, da-da-da. And I'll never forget it. I hung up. It was you and Ben. And I said, if y'all ever pull that shit again and do not tell me, we're done.
Yeah.
I am not
tense moments.
No, but like so,
conversation.
right? At the heat of the moment, with the emotion of all of a sudden there's a helicopter over my guys, and we had no idea it was coming, and probably could have handled that a little bit better. But I pulled both of them aside and cussed both of them out and said, "We're fucking done if you do this again." I'm not saying you shouldn't have done it, but you need to let every single person know what is going on, because you can't make choices like that, right? It's a safety factor, and if we're going to play on the same team, we need to be talking. Like, this is the problem. I understand that we're new, but we have very, very trained people that are capable of doing this. But there are no cards held to the chest on this game if you want it to work.
Yep.
Period. And if you do it again, I will decommission this team, and we are done, because we're not fighting the three-front war.
Obviously, it worked out.
Hadn't happened since. Well, it is, but like, you've got to
I
figure
learned
it
my
out.
lesson one time. You take a cussing from this fella here, you don't forget it.
I'm a nice guy till I'm not a nice guy.
It's very effective. Tough love, tough love.
Well, it's so hard trying to get all of this worked, right? And so it's not easy. And it takes lots of hours. It takes lots of hours from everybody, right? So you have the people that are training to be good on the ground, and that's their job, right? But then you have people training to you can ask him, I'm a bull, and I have zero filter. Like, hey, here's our objective. This is what we're going to do. Let's do it. China shop. And so, like, it's like everybody's got to learn something to make this work. And so, yeah, it's pretty freaking cool when it does. But anybody can do it. Like, he doesn't have special powers. I don't. He doesn't. It's just, hey, we got to do this. We're responsible for it. So why not? Let's fix it and make it work right. And we luckily did. So, but it doesn't come easy. You got to keep putting the time in, and you got to have people like Nancy and people on the team that are like, wait a minute, I've got time. Let's see if we can make this better. Maybe we can start getting it on the front end and be proactive instead of reactive. And so you have people that are willing to spend their time to go out and have these conversations in the park. And hey, let me teach you a class on how to backpack and how to day hike. I mean, how effective is that? Like, it's this whole big thing. Because, like, most of our stuff is we work on the reactive side. Poor choice has already been made. Now we got to deal with it. But we got people who are on the proactive side now too. And it is like, our search numbers have gone down. We still have them, and we were always going to have them. But there were multiple years that we were 50 to 70 searches, like deployable, like we had to go.
Yeah.
And I think last year we were at 29.
Not near as many.
No,
Not near as
no,
many.
but that's like informing people and trying to,
A little bit of science, a little technology, a little preventative stuff.
yeah,
Education.
it's just all these little pieces. So, which is awesome, and I mean, because volunteerism is you're doing 70 a year. Eventually, you run out of gas,
Yeah.
right? And so 25 a year is manageable, right? You're not burning up that resource. Yeah. I mean, we were just, this is redneck math. We were figuring out on some, like, based numbers as far as, like, national park stuff and everything. We roughly figured on an 8-hour search, which is kind of our average from deployment to we're done, we save the county, the taxpayer, whoever you want to look at. We averaged it was going to be between, I think it ended up being like $10,000 and $13,000 just for a snatch and grab. We knew where they were at per call.
So
I'd go for that.
That's unfathomable.
yeah.
Like, you were
pretty
talking about
pretty
that.
good money.
Yeah,
Pretty good
that
return
dollar.
on
If he had to
investment.
write a check when he was sheriff, that's literally what it was. Then you go into the 10-day with 500 people there, $100,000 easy. You actually had to pay for it.
And that's paying
Some
everybody
recent
less than
searches
minimum
is
wage
going
at that.
about 50,000 a day. The one we got now.
Is it 11 o'clock already?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys, this,
Hey, we've got a real celebrity has showed up now. We got Kevin.
Yeah.
Fitzgerald here.
Here, let me, I'll de-mic you guys here real quick.